Yeah, well, say we do all that. We're just supposed to walk out of there with $150 million in cash on us without getting stopped?
Hey, I'm Danny Boyd. When we talk about the rhythm of film editing, we often talk about it on a micro scale. How long do you hold? When do you cut?
Yeah.
And yeah, that can make or break a scene.
Oh. Okay.
I talked about this a while back for The Godfather and what makes something like the restaurant sequence so great.
Lasciamo perdere che tutti sti cazzati.
Or take the opening scene from Ocean's 11.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In the original edit of the film, this intro was cut up into a traditional shot-reverse-shot sequence between Danny and the parole board, culminating in this final exchange.
What do you think you would do if released?
I don't know. How much do you guys make a year?
The problem? Well, it was just kind of boring. Editing is all about feeling, and for director Steven Soderbergh, the way the scene flowed just didn't feel interesting. So he and his editor, Stephen Mirioni, went back and replaced all the cuts in the scene with just one.
What do you think you would do if released?
Removing the final line and going straight into music. Editing is full of micro decisions like this, but the quality of a movie goes beyond just the sum of its individual scenes. It also matters how those scenes interact with each other to create emotional rhythm, good pacing, on a macro scale. It's all about what the movie wants, how it flows, when to add, and when to take away. Or, as Soderbergh puts it, it's all about rhythm and release.
Okay. It's all right, Des. You have a deal. I promise. Fantastic. Here's what you do.
Let's say, for example, you're about to delve into an extensive 10-minute series of montages and character introductions for almost the entire main cast of your movie. Fast cuts, music, voiceover, multiple scenes and locations, and a ton of new information thrown at the viewer all at once. How do you prepare for that? Well, if you're Soderbergh, you think about the moment before. In complete contrast to all of that, the last minute and a half of the preceding scene was deliberately planned out in one long, unbroken take to let the movie breathe before injecting a bunch of energy into it.
Now he's gonna blow it up next month to make way for some gaudy monstrosity. Don't think I don't see what you're doing.
It's not a boring shot either. We've got plenty of movement from the actors and movement from the camera.
Who do you got in mind?
A good transition isn't just the quick or flashy stuff we often notice, like a good match cut, a wipe, a split screen, a push in and out of black, though of course all of that is fantastic when done right. Sometimes a transition is done with dialogue.
I wonder what Ruben will say.
You're out of your goddamn minds.
Sometimes with a shot, and sometimes an entire scene can be transitional, adjusting the rhythm of the movie to connect two major beats in the story.
Saul makes 10. 10 ought to do it, don't you think? You think we need one more? You think we need one more? All right, we'll get one more.
Take it out and the movie still works, but you lose a great bit of character. In fact, Pitt and Clooney had such good chemistry on Oceans that Soderbergh shot most of their scenes like this, in doubles and wides, with very little cutting, to let the two play things out on their own terms.
We said we were going to play the game like we had nothing to lose. Well, I lost something. I lost someone.
This is one of Ocean's 11's greatest strengths as a pure escapist, mainstream heist flick. The way the film balances quick action pacing with genuine character moments. Thing is, most of that happened in the edit.
Saul, do you make it out to Utah much?
Not as often as I'd like.
This scene around the pool is the first time all the characters in the movie get to interact with each other in the same space. It adds absolutely no vital information for the audience, it doesn't advance the plot, and in the initial cut of the film, it didn't exist.
From Chicago?
Yeah.
It's nice there. Do you like it?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Get in the goddamn house.
But watch how plot-driven, rather than character-driven, the movie becomes when you take it out.
What, did you guys get a group rate or something?
Gentlemen, the 3000 block of Las Vegas Boulevard, otherwise known as the Bellagio, the Mirage, and the MGM Grand.
The editing of Ocean's 11 was full of instances like this, entirely non-essential sequences that were removed early in favor of plot and faster pacing, but then restored to give us more time with the characters.
Stay and have a drink.
You can't.
So how was the clink? Did you get the cookies I sent?
This scene in the car was one of the last to get shot and one of the first to get cut. 15 seconds between the club and the restaurant, but without it,
It's never been done before. It's gonna need planning and a large crew.
and that was the main note that came out of early previews for the movie. Test audiences said they cared more about the characters than the plot. In the end, there are remarkably few deleted scenes in Ocean's 11 because most that were taken out or cut down were eventually restored.
Stupid, but I'd have to pay you by check. What? Or we could just stick to cash. Yeah, let's just stick to cash.
I want to show you one final example of a rhythmically consequential scene that was added in late. Only this time, instead of showing you the scene first, I'm going to start by showing you the cut without it. For context, we're a little over an hour into the film, we've set everything up, established the movie's villains and stakes, and we're about to move into the heist and the film's final act. Like this.
He's got to like you and then forget you the moment you've left his sight. And for God's sake, whatever you do, don't, under any circumstance.
Russ.
Yeah,
Can you take a look at this?
sure.
On a perfectly clear night in Las Vegas.
Well, did it get excited? So what's missing?
Saul? It's time.
That's it. A scene that simply says, all right, hold.
Okay,
Everything is in place.
let's do it.
Now let's begin.
On a perfectly clear night in Las Vegas.
The last thing I want to talk about is how the pacing of a film can change over time. Once the heist in Ocean's 11 has begun and everything's in play, the action really starts to pick up. Now things want to move. One way to achieve the feeling of movement is with faster cuts. Another? By not repeating shots. The notion that something feels faster when you're being constantly hit with new information and stimulation, the same principle applies here. Nearly every new cut in the final act of Ocean's 11 is to a new shot, set up in a new way. And if a shot is repeated, it often leads to a new framing. Things are always moving, and situations are always changing. The theatricality of each shot is also elevated. Long shots contain more movement, pans are wider and faster, angles are more extreme, and wider lenses were used to bring us in closer to the action. Seriously though, watch the last hour of Ocean's 11 and pay attention to shot setups. Outside of a few exceptions, you'll be astounded by the sheer novelty of it. Also, just while we're on the topic of editing, here's how you do a jump cut of Matt Damon properly.
My hand's not in your hand. Am I touching you? Am I touching you?
Your hand's right in front
I'm
of
not
my face.
touching you,
Take
so I'm
your
not.
hand right in front of my
I'm not.
face.
I didn't touch you.
You just touched me.
No, I didn't.
You just
made
touched
me
me.
touch you.
Nothing.
No. This
just
is your
turn it-
side.
Soderbergh had an instinct on Ocean's 11 to cut things down, compress, make a decidedly fun film as short and fast as possible.
No shit. On the job?
Skin cancer.
But he also had an eye to see when something didn't move right, and knew how to employ the help of other people to figure out why.
I got into a self-destructive pattern.
For a filmmaker who regularly directs, shoots, and edits all his own movies, keeping an open mind every step of the way may just be the greatest skill he has. As always, I'm Danny Boyd. Until next time.